morning. The class today is on the reticular formation of brainstem. Now, reticular formation, it consists of, as is clear from the name reticular, reticular means a network of nerve fibers. It is a network of nerve fibers. It is a network of nerve fibers with scattered nuclei. It is a network of the longitudinal nerve fibers with the scattered nuclei. Now this reticular formation, it is present, it is an ill-defined network, it is an ill-defined network of nerve fibers with scattered nuclei, which is present throughout the brainstem, with scattered nuclei which is present throughout the brainstem, which includes midbrain, pons and medulla. Midbrain, pons and medulla, and it has connections with the central nervous system. It has connections throughout the central nervous system. Now we come to the nuclei of the reticular formation. So, in the nuclei of reticular formation, we will draw the structure of the brainstem, which includes midbrain, pons varoli and medulla. Now, this is the midline. Now, parallel to the midline is present a column which is called median column of the nucleus. Parallel to it is present medial column of the nucleus. And parallel to it is present lateral column of the nucleus. So there are three columns of the nuclei: median, medial and lateral group of the nuclei. Now, the median group of nuclei, important is that the median group of nuclei has serotonin as its neurotransmitter. So this group of nuclei, median group of nuclei, is also called nucleus raphe. This median group of nuclei, it has serotonin as its neurotransmitter and it is called nucleus raphe. Now parallel to it is the medial group of nuclei. Parallel to it is the medial group. Important is that medial group has largest size of the nucleus. It has the largest size of the nucleus. So, it is called magnocellular nuclei. It has the largest size of the nucleus. So, medial group is called the magnocellular nucleus. It has got magnocellular nucleus. Parallel to it is the lateral group. Lateral group has smallest group of nucleus. So it is called parvocellular nuclei. So they are called parvocellular nuclei. Parvocellular because they are smallest in size. Parvocellular nuclei because they are smallest in the size. Parvocellular nuclei because they are smallest in the size. So it is medial group which is a magnocellular nuclei, and lateral group which is the smallest group, it is the parvocellular nuclei. Next is, after this nucleus, medial and lateral, we have the connections of reticular formation. Important is that it is a diffuse, ill-defined network, diffused, ill-defined network which has got polysynaptic connections. Polysynaptic connections. Polysynaptic means the afferent and efferent connections, they have multiple synapses. They have got multiple synapses. So this is a polysynaptic connections. These connections are polysynaptic. Next important thing is that throughout the brainstem, the connections, they are ascending, descending, crossed, uncrossed, and they send collaterals. They send collaterals. So the connections, they are ascending connections, descending connections, they are crossed connections, they are uncrossed connections. Ascending, descending, crossed and uncrossed sections. So the afferent and efferent connections, they are polysynaptic. They are polysynaptic means multiple synapses. So they are ascending connections, descending connections, crossed and uncrossed connections which sends collaterals. Collaterals, so they are sending horizontal connections which are called collaterals. Horizontal connections to each other which are called collaterals. Collaterals. So reticular formation, the characteristics of the connections, they are polysynaptic connections, they are ascending connections, they are descending connections, they are crossed and uncrossed connections, and also they send horizontal collaterals. Horizontal collaterals. Now, if you name them, then in general, reticular formation, it has connections with the autonomic centers, hippocampus, which is part of limbic system, then hypothalamus. Ultimately, they reach to the cerebral cortex. Ultimately, they reach to the cerebral cortex. Autonomic fibers, reticular formation, hypothalamus to the cerebral cortex, and they also received efferents from the they receive efferents from almost every part of the central nervous system. They receive efferents from every part of the central nervous system, including spinal cord. So they send efferents to hypothalamus, to cerebral cortex, and they receive efferents from every part of the central nervous system, including spinal cord. Next is this is the these are the connections. So you have come to know what are the characteristics of the connections. And then next is how are the connections? Then the naming of the parts of the connections. Naming of the part of the connections. Then part of the limbic system we have discussed, it is the hippocampus. Then also they receive connections from cerebellum. Now, in the connections, it is important that they receive special afferents from the visual center and auditory center. Visual center and auditory centers. Auditory centers of hearing that work when we hear the sound of alarm clock. And visual centers of light that works when tube light is shown in our eyes. Tube light or torch light is shown in our eyes when we are sleeping. We will discuss these two centers with special reference. Now, after the connections and the characteristics of connections, we discuss the parts of reticular formation. Now, parts of reticular formation, functionally, it has got two parts. One is ascending reticular activating system. Ascending reticular activating system. Ascending reticular activating system, it is called ARAS. Now, this ascending reticular activating system, it is connected with the brain stem. How is it connected with the brain stem? Ascending reticular activating system, it is present throughout the brain stem, and the many of its fibers of the ascending reticular activating system, they receive collaterals. They receive collateral connections from the visual center and auditory center. They receive collaterals, horizontal collaterals from the visual center and the auditory center, which are later projected to the cerebral cortex. Through the nuclei of first hypothalamus, then there is through the nuclei of hypothalamus and thalamus. Now, ascending reticular activating system, it is important for arousal. It is important in the arousal from sleep and arousal from coma. Ascending reticular activating system, it is important in arousal from sleep. When a torch light or tube light is shown in the eyes, the visual centers, they send afferent connections to the reticular formation, which first reach the hypothalamus, then the thalamus, and then to the cerebral cortex, and they make the person awake. Next is when you hear the voice of alarm clock, then the auditory centers, they give afferent connections to the reticular formation, which go to hypothalamus, which then go to the thalamus, and which then project in the cerebral cortex. So these visual and auditory centers, they help the person to awake and arousal from sleep. So this is under the main control of the ascending reticular activating system. This part is more important. Ascending reticular activating system, which is important for awake and arousal, and how it is important by visual and auditory centers, which project through the collaterals into the reticular formation, then the hypothalamus, and then into the thalamus. Another functional part is descending reticular activating system. But functionally more important is ascending reticular activating system. Functionally more important is ascending reticular activating system. Next important is the main functions of the reticular formation. Since this reticular formation, it is connected to almost every part of the central nervous system, hence its functions are also diffused. First function is somatosensory control. Somatosensory control. Second somatosensory control. Next important function is somatomotor control. Somatomotor control. Third important function is visceral control. And fourth important function is neuroendocrine control. First function is somatosensory control. Somatosensory control means reticular formation. It is controlling almost whole majority of the sensory information which is reaching through the thalamus. It is helping in identifying the majority of the sensory information which is reaching through the thalamus. Somatosensory control. Next is somatomotor control. Somatomotor control, it is controlling reticular formation, is controlling various motor activities, because reticular formation it has connections with the pyramidal tract also. It has connection with the pyramidal tract also. So it is, and also cerebellum, and connections with the cerebellum. So these two tracts, cerebellum and pyramidal tract and cerebellum, it helps in maintaining the equilibrium as well as the gait of the person. Equilibrium and gait of the person. So it has got somatomotor control. It controls the equilibrium as well as the gait of the person. And if there is a little damage, what will result? Ataxia. Ataxia will result. This is the somatomotor control. Next is the visceral control. Since reticular formation has connection with the autonomic centers of the body, so it controls many visceral activities including reproduction and digestion. These type of visceral activities, they are also controlled by the autonomic centers. Visceral control. Next is the neuroendocrine control. Neuroendocrine control, it is controlled by its connection with the hypothalamus. Since it has connections with the hypothalamus, so it is linked to the various releasing factors and inhibitory factors, releasing and inhibitory factors which exert neuroendocrine control over the various functions of the body. So reticular formation, it also exerts neuroendocrine control. So somatosensory control, somatovisceral, motor control, visceral control, and neuroendocrine control. And applied importance of gait ataxia and the disturbances in the releasing and the inhibitory factors. parts, revising the parts, ascending reticular activating system, descending, then its connections, then characteristics of the connections. Polysynaptic is important. Ascending, descending, horizontal, crossed, uncrossed. Then the nuclei, nucleus raphe, nucleus magnocellular, medial group, and small nuclei parvocellular. Then in general, the reticular formation, it consists of network of interlacing fibers and diffused scattered nuclei. For the examination point of view, ascending reticular activating system part is more important. Ascending reticular activating system. That's all. Next class will be at 10:40 a.m.